Manx Radio Sport.
Good evening and welcome to Friday Sport Preview on another chilly evening here on the Isle of Man. I'm Rob Pritchard, here with you to take a look at the sporting action taking place on this final weekend before Christmas. Coming up tonight, Peel are looking to hold off the charge of Corinthians at the top of the Canada Life Men's Premier League going into the latest round of fixtures this Saturday. In rugby, Southern Nomads face a tough trip away in the Cheshire Bowl on the Wirral tomorrow in the sole fixture involving Manx teams this time around. And in golf, Island star Ana Dawson is preparing for a huge chance starting tomorrow to get her name in the prestigious Ladies European Tour for next year. That is all to come this evening. Starting with football then tonight, and as I mentioned, it is the final weekend of fixtures across the divisions before we take a little break over the Christmas period. And amazingly, even though the weather has been extremely chilly and very Baltic, we don't seem to have had too many postponements. So there have been a couple, we'll get round to those in just a moment. So now it seems a perfect time to bring in Tony Mepham. Tony, you've made it up here.
Yeah, good evening to you, Rob. Yeah, over the years, we were just talking about it. I've got the experience of that right-hander coming up and left-hander going down, so I'll be dodging that when I go home.
Veteran.
But yeah, this morning it was a bit shaky going to work on the roads at 7:30, but we got here in one piece. I know there's a few accidents lying around this morning, and let's just hope that tonight the frost isn't too bad. It's not looking good at the moment with two matches being postponed, and tomorrow morning the sun comes up early and we can get thawed out. Should have a full programme on what's left, but at the moment it's looking very doubtful that we'll get a full programme.
Well, fingers crossed that we do. Well, let's take a look into Saturday then. All games kicking off at 2 o'clock. We'll start with the Canada Life Men's Premier League. All those games, as it stands at least, going ahead. And first up, we have the team that are trying to bear down on Peel at the top of the league. That is Corinthians, still undefeated, and they host bottom of the table St George's.
Yeah, well, I've got to be honest here, Rob, because I know we had a private chat off air. I just thought Corinthians last week would have found it a little bit tough going. Certainly a great result for them against Union Mills. Played ever so well in the first 25 minutes. And then even though they went down to 10 players, I thought that would be the end of it. I thought Union Mills would just shine through with the attacking force that they had. But Corinthians resilient at the back, played really well. And St George's going to try and cause a few problems tomorrow afternoon. Don't know the squad news. Johnny Myers is usually pretty good to come through, but probably still trying to sort that one out. But Ben Qualtrough certainly has got, I think, Joe Middleton and Jay Chatwood up front again. Jay had a great game last week. And then defensively, Stuart Smith's being really good. Jack Corran, the goalkeeper, holds his place. Adam Killia's suspension is finished, but he's going to stay with Jack because Jack's done nothing wrong, and well done to him. But you know, right the way through the team, I know they're going to miss Danny Gerrard. He'll be suspended, but I just think St George's are going to find it a little bit tough against the team that are lying second in the league. Don't forget, St George's are bottom, so I'll go for Corinthians to take maximum points.
Very well, and then we look to Moran, and they'll be hosting St John's.
Yeah, there's some calculations going on with this one, Rob, because this is qualification for the Railway Cup, and on my sums, if St John's score 4 goals, or should I say win by 4 goals, then they go into the semi-final draw. But they've still got another game in hand on that one, and that one's against Ramsey. So they're going to try and do the job tomorrow. Had a sneaky sort of preview of the squad, and Dean Lees is back in. Callum Taggart is back in as well. But it does look as if there's doubt on Sam Ingham, so we're waiting here on that one. As well with Moran, home advantage. It's a tighter pitch, might suit Moran better. But with those two boys up front for St John's, I think they're going to get the win. But whether they get enough to get qualified for the Descartes Railway Cup, I'm not too sure on that one. But I'll go for St John's to win.
Very well, and one of those names you mentioned there, Dean Lees, a huge one to be bringing back into the fold. Well, let's look out to the next one. We've got Peel, top of the league, of course, at the moment, with a nice little 5-point cushion at the top. As I've mentioned, they'll want to hold off Corinthians in second this weekend. But this could be a bit of a tricky test for them. They're away at Laxey tomorrow. Yeah,
I'm not too sure, because a couple of weeks ago, Rob, Laxey, I thought would have won in the game that they were at, but it didn't happen. I watched them and they just sort of struggled. And I know tomorrow there's a few missing. I think, certainly Brodie Patience is missing, one or two others as well. Wait and see if Tom Smith's okay. I thought he might have picked up an injury at training this week. But Peel, I think, pretty well all there. Lee Gale is not available, but Rhys Oates will be there. And when you look at Taylor Andrews bombing down that right-hand side, they've got Scott Horn in that midfield. They're sort of instrumental to it. They didn't play for FC Isle of Man last year for being just an average player. They're really good players, and I think their sort of way they attack forward down them lines and through that middle can cause a few problems. So I'm going to go for Peel to win.
Very well, and then we've got what could be another interesting battle up in the north of the island. Ramsey hosting Ayr United, two teams still trying to push for a place in the Railway Cup, I believe. Yeah, they are, and Ayr United's the one because, Ramsey, it's sort of tough for them at the moment. Ayr have got 3 to play, and they've got to pick up pretty well maximum points, and Ramsey, if they win this one, sort of takes Ayr out of it, as I've worked out. I think Ramsey, the way they've played over the last couple of weeks, will look pretty strong, and I think they're going to make it very, very difficult for Ayr. Played at Ballaclone, great surface to play on. I know it could be a little bit hard with a bit of frost kicking around, but I don't think that'll spoil the game if it does get the go-ahead on it, and that's why I go for the home team to win. Very well, and then rounding off the Canada Life Men's Premier League tomorrow, Douglas High School Old Boys, they'll be at home against Russian United. Yeah, when you look at Old Boys 11th in the league, Russian United climbing up a little bit now, picking up some useful points. They're in 8th, they've played 10 for 11, as where Old Boys have played 9 for 8. Robbie Ward's team there will be hoping to try and sort themselves out if they can with whatever players are available. They've got some good young players who have come through, have sort of helped the average age come down a little bit, but I just think at the moment Nick Robinson's team are playing better than they have been at that start of the season, getting a more balanced team out there now, and I'm going to go for Russian to take the points. Very well, let's take a look then at DPS Limited Division 2. We did have 5 games down, there are now 4. Tony will bring the information in a moment, and St Mary's, of course, with a nice big gap at the top of the table at the moment, having played a couple of games more than those just in behind them, and one of those teams in behind them, Michael United, it's they who see their game off. Yeah, unfortunately, and we've just found this out, so we'll be in touch with Michael as soon as we're allowed. But the Ramsey Youth Centre, the pitch is frozen. They looked at it this morning, it was hard, and tonight there's been no improvement at all. So they've made the early decision on that one, and the ground staff have been involved in that as well. And it's going to be the story of it, I think, Rob, is where it all sort of defrosts quickly and allows the games to go ahead. But Michael slipped behind again because they've only played 8, the 3 games behind St Mary's. So if St Mary's game goes ahead tomorrow at Colby and they get the points, they go further ahead and also will have played 4 games more. Well, speaking of St Mary's, yes, they are hopefully involved in one of the 4 games that are now taking place across Division 2 tomorrow. Yeah, and Governors Athletic, bottom of the league, St Mary's top of the league, so you got a rough idea of where this one's going to go. St Mary's last week, I know they beat Braddon 2-0, but it's a right old battle with them, and there's 2 really good sides, and I think Alex Harrison's really chuffed with the way St Mary's are going. They're sorting things out, they're getting a pattern of play now, and well done to them. They're playing in the right sort of way, keeping the ball on the deck and passing to each other. When you've got talent like Joe Canepa, Owen Canepa there as well, Jamie Skillen, you can do that sort of thing, but defensively they've looked strong as well. And even though 1 or 2 key players last week for Braddon were having a right good go at St Mary's, it didn't quite come off for them. So I'm going to go for St Mary's. It's horrible to say, a comfortable win. And then we have a bit of a Douglas derby, Douglas and District against Douglas Athletic. Yeah, and again, it's going to be on the day, whichever team has the strongest squad. Douglas and District 7th, Douglas Athletic 8th. 8 games played by both, 8 points on the board, so pretty equal game to sort of go and watch. D&D's pitch should be okay there. It's just above the swimming pool, so it's a little bit sort of, if you like, sheltered compared to Pulrose and Douglas Athletics at the top. I think Douglas and District will just win it. Very well, and then Braddon, who you mentioned before, that narrow loss to St Mary's last week, they're at home to Colby this time around. Yeah, I was impressed with Braddon last week, and Joe Burrows, I think it was, at the back for them, really strong. But right the way through, Callum Holden as well, looks as if he's got something about him in front of goal. But Colby do have the league's top goal scorer, I think, in Jordan Edge, and if they can sort of contain him, then it might just stop Colby from posing a threat here. Got a bit of a bet on at work with someone in this one who's going to play for Colby, and he reckons that they're going to do all right. I saw enough last week to say that I think Braddon have got a great opportunity in getting promoted this year if they can keep the consistency going. Some talent there, and it'll only grow for them. Going to go for Braddon to win. Very well, we shall see. And finally, in DPS Limited Division 2 this weekend, Castletown, who are up in the mix toward the top of the table as well. A couple of games in hand, a bit like Michael United. They're away to Foxdale. Yeah, Castletown 3rd, Foxdale are 6th. And Castletown have got so much to go for them up front. But when you look at the game,
games they've played, 7, Rob, they haven't had much football, so a little bit ring rusty. I don't know if there's any of the players missing due to going away. I'm just thinking the Silver Boys, they've travelled in from a good distance, so they might have gone already. But if you've got them out there, I think Foxdale know that they've got a bit of a challenge on their hands, and it just shows you from 12 months ago where Castletown are now. And I watched this game earlier on last year, and Foxdale played really well against the Castletown team, but now it's reversed the other way, and I'm going to go for Castletown to take maximum points.
Very well. Well, let's quickly rattle through the combination division fixtures this weekend. 3 fixtures in Canada Life. Can't be one.
Yeah, and I think St John's, who are playing against Union Mills, you're going to go for, I think, St John's just to win this one. They've had a good season, I think, back in the top flight, and they're going well at the moment, so I'm going to go for them against Union Mills to win.
We also have Rushen versus Ayr and Peel versus Ramsey.
2 of the top sides there, Rushen and Peel. Rushen will beat Ayr. I think Rushen last week had a bit of a scare, didn't he, when they were 2 down, and then they ended up 3-2 winners, so got to go for Rushen to win that. Peel against Ramsey, that'll be another cracking game, but I just think Peel have got so much quality in there with the younger players, 1 or 2 experience. I think Karen Christian's been chucking the boots on and playing in there, and he's an excellent player, great to bring young players through with people like him in the squad. I have to go for Peel to take maximum points.
Very well, and last but certainly not least, moving on to DPS Limited Combination 2, 3 games now. There were originally 4.
There was, and let's go through the one that's postponed. Pulrose against Maloo. Maloo have been notified. We had this one just after lunch. Pulrose's pitch is frozen, and in their view, with the weather forecast and everything, it's not going to recover. That's fine. But Michael against Ramsey Youth Centre. Michael are 10th, Ramsey Youth Centre are 2nd, so I have to go for Ramsey Youth Centre to win that. Colby against Braddon. Colby are 9th, and Braddon are 5th. Going to go for Braddon just on league position because there's not too many points between them. And then the other one, Castletown against Foxdale. Castletown a little bit off the pace, not like their first team, which is unusual to be fair. So Foxdale, I'm going to go for them just to beat them.
Very well. Those are your fixtures for Saturday in the Manx footballing divisions. Now, Tony, we've got around 60 seconds here. I know this isn't easy to answer because you're still going to have to be crunching the numbers, I guess. But I will keep asking at the moment. In terms of the D-Cart Railway Cup, what could happen this weekend in deciding what happens? Well,
this is the way I've sussed it out at the moment, is that if Ramsey beat Ayr, that takes Ayr out of the competition. And if St John's win by 4 clear goals against Marown, then we've got our 4. The top 4, or the top 2 at the moment, which is Corinthians and Peel. Peel are top. They qualify. That would allow Union Mills to go in. They finished their 12 games on 22 points. And then the 4th one would be taken by St John's. So we've still got plans to try and get the semi-finals on Boxing Day if we can. Now, if Ayr do get beat tomorrow and St John's don't win by 4 clear goals, they've still got an outstanding game against Ramsey. St John's, have floodlights. So if the 2 clubs could get it together, we could then put the rearrange game on next Wednesday, the 21st, and then we could still get the semi-finals on Boxing Day. So there you go. My head's battered now.
I think you'd need a very long sheet of paper and a very stubborn pen to get all these calculations down the next couple of days. Let's hope we can get some more clarity over the next couple of days. Well, Tony, thank you very much, and we'll be catching up with you very soon.
Thanks.
Turning to rugby, and just the one game involving Isle of Man teams is taking place in the final weekend before Christmas. Douglas had been due to take on Vale of Loon in the Regional 2 North West tomorrow. However, that's now been postponed due to a frozen pitch. Just one clash left then on the card, and that sees Southern Nomads travel to face Wirral-based Hoylake in the Cheshire Bowl on Saturday. Dave Christian reports on what challenge possibly lies ahead for the Manx side.
It's the Cheshire Bowl. It's probably the weekend that nobody really wants to play either. It's difficult for all teams, particularly around the last Saturday before Christmas. Southern Nomads are due to travel to Hoylake. The game should have been played a little bit earlier in the season, but travel has been a little bit difficult for everybody this season, and Nomads, I don't know whether they left the booking late or they just didn't have availability on the timings that they needed, but but they were due to travel to Hoylake a little while back. I think it was the 8th of November. No travel or no viable travel arrangements available for them, so they missed out on the game. They're travelling to Hoylake this weekend. The teams playing in the English Clubs Championship get a little break here because there's a pressure on them from the Divisional Organising Committee there to make sure that the games are played if there's a flight involved. And that means that they have to find another venue, or the home club has to find another venue. There's a couple of places have all-weather surfaces. There's one at Burnage near Manchester. I know Ramsey have played on that a couple of times in the past. So the pressure's on. There's no such fallback in the Cheshire Bowl competition, with it being a little bit of a lower level. Hoylake, unfortunately for Nomads, are in a very strong position right now. They play in Vagabonds League, Counties 3 ADM. They're top of the table. They've played 10, won 9 and have one draw in there. Maximum 50 points from those 10 matches, and they've taken 46 of them. So Hoylake on a little bit of a run of form right now. And of course, in the Cheshire Bowl, they've already beaten Ramsey and Ellesmere Port in this particular pool and look like they're going to go through to the final, which is in February. There's a highly improbable set of if Southern Nomads can go to Hoylake Saturday afternoon, pick up a win, beat Hoylake by 39 points or more, and deny Hoylake a bonus point, Ramsey could go through. But I think the form books suggesting otherwise. Nomads have got the players capable of unlocking Hoylake's defence, out in the back line in particular. The likes of Tony Quinn, out-and-out pace man. He's got a tremendous amount of skill. Will Tazier as well. That back line at Southern Nomads is something to be very cautious of. Where they may struggle a little bit, though, is in the forwards. A set of gnarly old forwards at Hoylake. They know what they're doing. If the pitch is not frozen, it could be very soft underfoot. That'll suit the team with a bigger pack, and I suspect that's going to be Hoylake. Southern Nomads, their pack's going to probably be a little bit lighter. I know that Ori Watterson, who is one of the form players in the Southern Nomads pack, he's indicated he's out until at least the new year with a knee injury, possibly the rest of this season. And they're really going to miss him. He's a combative character, always gets in the mix and carries the ball really well. Maybe Harry Brereton might step up to the mark. Harry's a veteran now, but again, a capable operator in the back row, knows what he's doing from the number 8 position, but he maybe just doesn't quite offer the same going forward as Ori Watterson would. So maybe some problems for Nomads in the forwards, but I think fingers crossed on the weather first. That pitch at Hoylake's got to have a little bit of chance to thaw out, and maybe the weather tonight will be a bit kinder for them, and they'll be looking for an early kickoff as well. I think it's scheduled for a 1 o'clock kickoff there at Hoylake tomorrow. So tough times for Southern Nomads. They've got it all stacked up, but I don't think Ramsey at this stage are particularly concerned about making flight arrangements for the final in February, because Hoylake are looking at possibly a little bit too strong for Nomads.
Manx Radio Sport.
Dave Christian with that report there. And finally, tomorrow sees the start of a big weekend for one of the Isle of Man's top golf stars. Ana Dawson is competing in the final qualifier of the Ladies European Tour qualifying school at Real Golf La Manga Club in Spain from Saturday until next Wednesday. Well, after progressing through the pre-qualifier event last weekend, she, along with 146 other international players, will be vying for the chance to earn a tour card for the prestigious Ladies European Tour next year. Well, I caught up with Ana this week to get her thoughts on how the important pre-qualifier event went and on taking part in the final stage over the coming days.
It did go well. I think obviously if you look in and see at the scores, it did look like maybe there was a bit of a blip in round 2, but no, I played well. I was really happy with how I played. Obviously, it's a very different experience. I've actually only played one 4-round tournament before, so even just that was quite mentally challenging as well. Before the 4 rounds started as well, we had 3-4 days of practice rounds, so it's been a long few days. Definitely happy with how I played. I was happy with how I responded after day 2, after getting off to a nice start. It was a bit disappointing to go out and let so many shots just kind of get away from me, but yeah, I was really happy with how I responded to go out and shoot level the next day. Probably wanted to do a bit better, take a bit more pressure off the last day, because I knew the wind was going to get back up again, but it just gave me a chance to kind of steady up and then, give myself at least a chance to go out and shoot a good round on the last day, and to do it on the course where I'd struggled on as well, I think made it a bit nicer of a note to finish on.
a quality field of players all round. The fact that only a handful actually made it to under par come the end, what does it say about how tough the conditions might have been out there for everyone?
Yeah, I think it was, surprising. There was a lot of really good players from obviously pros, and then you got amateurs. There was girls who played Curtis Cup this year who were here who haven't got through. So it's been really good, getting to play at another high level and see kind of how I can do at that standard. But yeah, the weather shows a lot. Obviously, there was a mixture of scores in there. It was definitely like any golf course. If you play well, obviously you can shoot a good score, but for the most part, it wasn't easy. It's long. Obviously, it's very different to playing at home. You haven't got the run and all that we're kind of used to. So it is a different style of golf. So getting used to that alone. But yeah, I was happy with how I handled it. I've got my boyfriend Will on the bag, and he's kind of used to being in this environment as well. He played Q School this year, so that's definitely made a difference as well. But to have 3 rounds, I would have been under par 4, I think gives me a lot of confidence going into next week that, I can be one of them players to finish under par next time.
You made it into the mix, you're into the final qualifier starting on the 17th. What are the sort of things you're taking from the pre-qualifier experience that you can maybe take into the final qualifier, which of course is at the same venue?
Yeah, I think, it's really good to, I've played each course now 4 times, so makes a difference kind of like, knowing where you go and some of the clubs and the shots that you've hit. Going to play another couple practice rounds in the next 2 days as well, and just kind of see maybe if there is some different ways to like do a few things. But obviously now on each course as well, I've had a good round, so I know that I can go out and shoot low on them courses and just kind of, try not to do anything too crazy. It's 5 rounds, so it's still a long tournament, so don't need to do anything silly. Just need to, be comfortable and just be consistent and hopefully, see where that leaves me.
What would it mean to you to, to be successful out there in the final qualifier if you manage it and to get yourself a tour card?
Oh, well, obviously so much. I mean, since the beginning of the year, it's what I've been preparing for all year. I've played so many tournaments in the UK to just try and get used to, being back out and competing, which hasn't been easy with COVID over the last couple of years. Just the nerves of playing after not doing it were very high. So I feel comfortable after playing, and yeah, it's good. I am happy with how everything's gone, but it is so different to everything else I've played all year. As much as you can prepare for it, there's only so much you can do. But it's the ultimate goal to get a European Tour card and go out there and compete and do well every week. So hopefully I can just give myself a chance to do that.
Manx Radio Sport.
That's all we have time for on Friday Sport Preview this week on Manx Radio. Many thanks to my guests this week, Tony Mepham, Dave Christian and Ana Dawson. Have yourself a wonderful Friday on this chilly evening, whatever you're doing, and have yourself a wonderful final weekend before Christmas as well, whatever you're doing. So until next time, it's bye for now.